In the ring, they were legends. But behind the curtain, they were true sex fiends. WWE wasn't just a breeding ground for superstars. It was also a kingdom of secret affairs, backstage scandals, and sleepless nights in hotel rooms. From notorious playboys like Ric Flair, Batista, and Shawn Michaels to seductive icons like Sunny, each had sexual escapades so wild, they made the entire locker room blush. Ready for this? Here's a look at the most infamous sex-obsessed figures in WWE history. Ric Flair, the man who turned his sex life into a universe of its own. For Ric Flair, the man you saw on TV wasn't a character, it was his true self. Every strut, every word, every wild night felt like a scene pulled straight from a lavish script, one filled with champagne, limousines, and glittering lights. He didn't play the nature boy, he was the nature boy. Throughout a career that spanned decades, Flair didn't just shine with his 16 world championship titles. He also carried a record that no one could prove, but everyone had heard of: over 10,000 lovers. The number, proudly claimed by Flair himself in an ESPN documentary, sounds outrageous. But given his schedule of wrestling nearly every night, city-hopping non-stop, and partying like it was his last day on Earth, it might not be far-fetched. Unlike other wrestlers who had to fight for attention, Flair was always the center of it. He didn't walk into bars looking for women, he was the stage, and the spotlight naturally followed. Robes sparkling with sequins, flashy gold Rolexes, and limos longer than the hotel hallways, he didn't need to speak. His presence alone did all the talking. As the main star of this never-ending performance, Flair had signature moves no one could imitate. One of his most infamous catchphrases, Space Mountain, was a bold metaphor for his bedroom prowess. The oldest ride in the park, but still got the longest line. That wasn't just a joke, it became part of his brand. Flair could turn any situation into a flirtatious encounter. On airplanes, he'd whisper wild lines to flight attendants. In hospitals, even while recovering from surgery, he'd flirt with nurses. To him, charm never took a day off, whether in hotel suites, airport runways, or backstage arenas. Those who toured with Flair say he never spent a night alone. Sometimes, his mere presence seemed to pull women in like a gravitational force. One legendary story from a 1991 event in Tokyo told how hotel staff had to turn away 27 women. The entire hotel floor hosting Flair's party was already packed. But behind all the glitz and endless nights of excess was a far more complicated reality. His love life wasn't just spontaneous fun, it came with infidelity, conflict, and devastating financial consequences. All 5 of his marriages, from Leslie Goodman to Wendy Barlow, ended in divorce, leaving behind massive alimony payments and broken hearts. His final marriage to Wendy wasn't even legally binding, as if not even the law could keep up with his chaotic romantic life. A former WWE executive once revealed the company had created a special Flair fund just to handle his outrageous spending, from swiping 10 credit cards in one night to throwing parties that stunned even the most jaded insiders. Each year, he blew through millions just to maintain the lifestyle of a living legend. Custom-made suits, Rolls-Royces, top-shelf liquor, and of course, endless nights of indulgence. What made Ric Flair truly one of a kind was how he blurred the line between fantasy and reality. No one, not even Flair himself, could tell where the performance ended and real life began. But to fans, he'll always be the symbol of extravagance, wild charisma, and untamed swagger. And in his own words, Space Mountain never shuts down, baby. Vince McMahon, when the WWE boss became a real-life villain. For decades, Vince McMahon wasn't just the man running WWE, he was WWE. The mastermind behind outrageous storylines, the architect of the modern wrestling empire. But away from the spotlight, beyond the music and fireworks, Vince represented a twisted kind of power, one fueled by control, lust, and a sense of invincibility. No one can deny his business genius. But alongside record-breaking ratings and multi-million-dollar revenues was a personal life plagued by controversy. From secret affairs to multi-million-dollar hush settlements, Vince's off-camera image became a nightmare for many women who entered the world he created. Even without concrete proof, stories about Vince circulated for years within WWE. And according to many former employees, the most chilling part was, everyone knew. No one spoke up, because their jobs depended on him. Vince never tried to hide his infidelity. In a 2001 Playboy interview, he openly admitted to cheating on his wife Linda, not with regret, but with the pride of a man bragging about his conquests. "I never lied to her," he said, not as an apology, but as a bold declaration. Vince did whatever he wanted, and no one could stop him. But this wasn't just about personal morals. In 1986, Rita Chatterton, WWE's first female referee, accused Vince of raping her in a limousine. Her story was buried for decades. In 2005, a female wrestler claimed he asked for oral sex and demoted her when she refused. A year later, a WWE manager reportedly accepted a $1 million settlement to stay silent about a relationship with Vince. From 2008 to 2019, more disturbing cases emerged: secret deals, sudden raises, and ironclad NDAs. One female legal assistant who had a sexual relationship with Vince saw her salary double within a year, before disappearing from the company entirely. Everything came to a head in 2024. Former assistant Janelle Grant filed a shocking lawsuit, claiming Vince turned her into a living sex toy, forcing her into bizarre acts, including threesomes and inhumane behavior that defied description. Gruesome allegations like defecation on the body, WWE wrestler-themed sex toys, and even Brock Lesnar being mentioned in testimony ignited a storm of outrage. The lawsuit didn't just accuse Vince of abuse, it claimed he built an entire system to cover it up, using company funds for hush money, promoting or giving raises to women who complied. A massive machine designed to bury the truth. According to internal investigations, between 2005 and 2022, at least $19.6 million in WWE funds were used for these secret settlements. Former head of talent relations John Laurinaitis was also implicated, accused not just of assisting but of committing similar misconduct himself. Netflix, once planning a documentary titled Mr. McMahon, had to pause the project as reality outpaced fiction. Former WWE employees described company apartments turned into playhouses, arbitrary raises handed out for sexual favors, all under the illusion of executive privilege. Vince used to scream, "You're fired," at wrestlers as a symbol of absolute authority. But in 2022, he was forced to step down as CEO when the board exposed suspicious payouts and serious ethical violations. When WWE was sold to Endeavor in 2023, Vince was all but removed from power. By 2024, Janelle Grant's lawsuit had officially transformed him from a legend into a symbol of disgrace. Once a man who bent every rule in the book, Vince McMahon now stands as proof that no one stays above accountability forever. His billion-dollar empire is crumbling, and his WWE throne is a thing of the past. In the end, it wasn't a match in the ring, but the truth that brought down the boss. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, and his obsessive backstage persona. Long before the phrase Attitude Era became a rallying cry, Shawn Michaels was already living it, loud, proud, and unapologetically wild. With tight leather gear, a flowing golden mullet, and unmatched arrogance, the Heartbreak Kid wasn't just a ring name, it was a way of life for a man who never cared what anyone thought. Women across America screamed his name, not just from the stands, but behind closed doors. From barroom pickups to secret flings backstage and fiery diva drama, Michaels left behind a trail of chaos that rivaled even WWE's wildest storylines. His hedonistic habits didn't begin with D-Generation X. They were already burning back in his early days. As one half of the Rockers, Shawn and Marty Jannetty were the ultimate bad boys on the road. But while Jannetty would party until he crashed in his hotel room, Shawn was just getting started. After the match, while his tag partner was still in gear, Michaels would vanish, hand in hand with 2 or 3 women he just recruited from the crowd. Jannetty once said, "I called him the Midnight Rider, because by morning, no one ever knew where he went." That simmering jealousy, paired with Shawn's rising reputation as WWE's top bad boy, ultimately led to the Rockers' breakup in 1992. From that moment on, Shawn fully transformed. No longer a tag team wrestler, he became the Heartbreak Kid in every sense, cocky, magnetic, and dangerously confident. That swagger became his trademark. The line, "I'll make you scream tonight," from his entrance theme wasn't just a lyric, it was a not-so-subtle nod to his off-screen lifestyle. Former diva sensational Sherry once hinted, "We started rehearsing promos, and ended up rehearsing something else." For some, their bond was part of the act, but insiders knew it was very real and very hot. Writer Vince Russo once said, "Shawn wasn't playing Heartbreak Kid, he was Heartbreak Kid." Every wink, every smirk, every slow stride past rows of adoring women was pure, unfiltered Shawn. But it wasn't just fleeting flirtation. Michaels allegedly ran a full-blown selection process, after shows. According to Terry Runnels, he held auditions in hotel rooms under the pretense of finding a valet for his entrances. Young women, eager to break into the business, thought this was their big break, until they realized that casting had nothing to do with wrestling. One of the most infamous names to walk through Shawn's backstage door was Sunny, WWE's first major diva and the most downloaded woman on the internet in the 90s. Publicly, she was dating Chris Candido. Privately, she was with Shawn. Their affair wasn't exactly a secret. Sunny claimed Vince McMahon even gave them a private locker room every night. Their relationship was intense, toxic, and chaotic, filled with passion, fights, makeups, and more fights, all in a constant power struggle for the spotlight. Her peers dubbed her the Click Chick, a nod to the Click, the backstage faction led unofficially by Shawn. Veteran referee Earl Hebner recalled, "Once, Shawn vanished during a tour. We had to delay a match because he was busy having a private workout with Sunny in the janitor's closet." The romance flamed out quickly. Sunny would later remark bitterly, "Shawn loved himself more than anyone, even me." Shawn's love life sometimes spilled into the ring. In 1996, he was accused of hitting on Diana Smith, wife of Davey Boy Smith, sparking a real-life feud. Then in 1997, he was tied to one of WWE's ugliest backstage scandals, a rockers' reunion party that ended with 3 women alleging they'd been drugged and assaulted. Things got worse in 2006, when Brutus Beefcake accused Shawn and Janity of spiking drinks at after-parties. That wasn't flirting. That was hunting. Shawn denied it all, and in 2024 he spoke out, "I made mistakes, but I never needed drugs to be with a woman." According to him, he just couldn't say no. Women always came to him. By the late 90s, though, Shawn's party era caught up with him. Injuries, scandals, and emotional burnout led to his first retirement. He lost his smile and disappeared from WWE. But years later, he returned, married to Whisper, a former Nitro girl, born again and deeply religious. It marked a new chapter, one of redemption. Still, no amount of repentance could erase the legacy of his wild youth. The Heartbreak Kid's legend wasn't just built on title wins, it was forged in sleepless nights, backstage drama, and whirlwind flings. Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest performers in wrestling history. But away from the lights, he was the star of a very different kind of Royal Rumble, where women, fame, and ego constantly collided. And for HBK, every match was the main event, and he was always the one on top when the bell rang. Batista, when The Animal, dominated more than just the ring. When people hear the name Batista, they picture a cold, muscular beast who crushed opponents with his iconic Batista bomb. But WWE's Animal wasn't just a nightmare inside the squared circle. He was a full-blown storm of romance and chaos behind the scenes. For Batista, women weren't just romantic targets. They were captivated spectators of the bad boy role he lived both on-screen and off. Before rising to global wrestling stardom, Dave Bautista was just a bouncer with muscles and big dreams. His first marriage to Glenda, a woman who'd been by his side since his nightclub days, quietly ended in 1998, without scandal or headlines. Just 2 people going in different directions. But everything changed once the lights of WWE hit him. His second marriage to Angie began as his career took off, and ended just as he was becoming a top-tier WWE superstar. After 2 divorces, Batista was no longer a family man. He was a free, powerful, and dangerously desirable bachelor, and WWE was the perfect playground for someone like him. He didn't waste time. Once unshackled by marriage, Batista dove headfirst into a string of new relationships, short-lived, intense, and packed with drama. One of his earliest flings was with Rebecca DiPietro, a former Diva Search contestant and WWE host. The two dated briefly and split quietly, stirring backstage gossip but not enough heat to spark a scandal. Things escalated when Batista got involved with Melina, who, at the time, was dating John Morrison. Batista. He didn't care. In his autobiography, he openly admitted to falling hard for Melina, despite knowing she was taken. Like many real-life WWE dramas, hearts didn't follow rules. Morrison, a rising star, suddenly found himself on the sidelines of a love triangle he never saw coming. The situation shook things up so badly that insiders claimed Vince McMahon lost faith in Morrison for not being able to hold onto his girlfriend. In WWE, losing a title is recoverable. Losing your girlfriend to Batista? Career killer. The drama didn't stop there. In 2008, rumors exploded when Batista was linked to Kelly, then just 21, while he was nearing 40. In a radio interview, Batista called her too young, a loaded phrase suggesting she couldn't keep up with his wild lifestyle. The relationship fizzled fast, but it cemented Batista's image as the ageless player. Not long after, whispers of a fling with Rosa Mendez began swirling, and this time, Batista confirmed it. But like the rest, it didn't last. From female hosts and WWE divas to celebrity fans, Batista had no shortage of options, just a shortage of stability. Many thought he'd finally settled down when he married Sarah Jade, a renowned pole dancer, in 2015. But by 2019, they separated, and the ladies' animal was back on the hunt. Times had changed, though. Batista wasn't just a WWE megastar anymore. He'd become a bona fide Hollywood action hero. But that didn't mean he'd cooled off. In late 2019, social media lit up as Batista publicly flirted with WWE's Dana Brooke on Twitter. Fans buzzed over the potential new wrestling power couple. But true to Batista form, it was one date and done. Fast in, fast out. Then came the bombshell. The great Khali once claimed that Batista slept with every diva from that era. Every single one. No one's ever confirmed it, but no one's denied it either. With Batista's dating history, people were ready to believe anything, no matter how wild. What set Batista apart was his complete lack of regret. He never apologized for living fast, loving hard, or strolling into the diva's locker room like it was his own entrance ramp. For him, passion, or lust, was part of the show. Just like in the ring, Batista didn't avoid risk. He embraced it, conquered it, and moved on. Sunny, WWE's trailblazing diva and queen of controversy. Before diva became a brand, before women in WWE were treated as equals to male superstars, there was Sunny. She wasn't the first woman in WWE, but she was the first to make an entire generation glued to their screens, not just because of her looks, but because of an undeniable magnetic pull. However, what turned Sunny into a legend wasn't just what happened in the ring. It was the whirlwind of stories behind the curtain. In 1996, Sunny became the most downloaded woman on the entire internet, surpassing pop stars and supermodels alike. She embodied a WWE shifting away from pure wrestling into an era of entertainment, sex appeal, and spectacle. But behind the glitter and spotlights, Sunny's life became a tangled web of fame, love, and constant scandal. It all started with Chris Candido, her high school sweetheart and the man who introduced her to wrestling. The two began together in Smoky Mountain Wrestling and eventually made it to WWE as a pair. Candido was a devoted wrestler, but Sunny, then still Tammy Lynn Switch, proved she was born for the spotlight. Her career skyrocketed, quickly eclipsing that of her partner. But as her fame grew, so did the cracks in their relationship. That first love couldn't withstand the pressure of rising stardom. And while Candido fought to prove himself, Sunny became entangled in other relationships. Most notoriously with the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. For nearly a year, Shawn and Sunny had a not-so-secret affair behind Candido's back. They didn't hide it. Locker rooms, tour buses, anywhere with privacy became their playground. According to X-Pac, a member of the clique, he once stood guard while they took care of business backstage. Sunny would later confirm the relationship, claiming it was far more serious than most realized. Shawn, she said, made her feel truly alive. Their romance didn't just shake the locker room, it bled into live television. In a 1997 promo during his feud with Bret Hart, Shawn dropped the now infamous "Sunny Days" line, a sly, personal jab suggesting Bret was having an affair with her. Though the claim was false, it enraged Hart, dragged his name into a scandal, and became one of the sparks that ignited the infamous Montreal Screwjob. After Shawn, the list of rumored flings only grew: British Bulldog, Ahmed Johnson, Sabu. None ever confirmed, yet none completely denied. With Sunny's image as a sex symbol and her unapologetically bold personality, few were surprised. For her, it was all part of a story, one of rise, fame, and eventual downfall. Yet her most intense drama wasn't romantic, it was her behind-the-scenes rivalry with Sable. If Sunny ruled WWE in 1996, then by 1997, the spotlight had shifted to Sable. A newer, flashier star Vince McMahon pushed aggressively. Sunny, used to being the queen bee, couldn't stand being replaced. Their feud exploded. Sunny publicly trashed Sable, accusing WWE of backing the wrong woman, while Sable quietly took the spotlight. The shared locker room became a battleground. According to insiders, the tension was so thick WWE was forced to pick sides. In 1998, they did. Sable stayed. Sunny was gone. After WWE, Sunny drifted between ECW and WCW, never recapturing her former glory. Her life spiraled. Alcohol, substance abuse, and legal troubles followed. Though she was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2011, the honor couldn't erase her new image as a scandal waiting to happen. Arrests, social media meltdowns, whirlwind romances, they became the headlines, not her legacy. Still, Sunny's impact can't be denied. She was the first to make women in WWE glamorous, marketable, and as media-relevant as any male wrestler. Sunny wasn't just the girl by the ring, she was the reason people turned on the TV. She led merchandise sales, pioneered the diva archetype, and brought female presence into pop culture's spotlight. But she also proved a painful truth: the brightest lights can burn the fastest. From goddess-like icon to tragic cautionary tale, Sunny's journey is pure Hollywood. Loved, idolized, and ultimately undone by her own legend. She set a new standard for women in wrestling, and was also the first to be broken by it. Sunny wasn't just a sex symbol. She was a piece of WWE history, a sign of cultural change, and a haunting answer to the question: when the spotlight fades, who's left behind the curtain? In WWE, winning or losing in the ring is just part of the story. The real drama unfolds backstage. And the names you just saw? They didn't just take down opponents. They shook the entire WWE to its core. Love backstage drama? Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell.